Hi, I'm Patty McGarrahan, and this is the Mind's Eye Show. And I'm happy today to have Kelly Doyle with me today. And she does a lot of fabulous stuff in the holistics that I think that you people will enjoy hearing about. So thank you for coming today, Kelly.
Thank you for having me. It's really nice to be here.
Yes, she comes and hangs and plays at the Mind's Eye with me. But tell me a little bit about your business.
Well, I think I began in the business of counseling as a very young girl. You know, I feel that, my mom would always say, I always ask for advice for you because you were just this wisdom little child, and I just always felt like I was the intuitive and feeling and sensitive being in the family where everyone else was I just felt very different. Sometimes I would even say, that show on Sesame Street where they say, which one doesn't belong, the plate, the fork, the knife, or the spoon. I'm like, I'm the plate, I'm the one who doesn't belong. And then I would go down the street to my grandmother's house, and my grandmother would have tea with me. And after tea, we would take the tea bags, and she would put it over her head, and she would say a prayer, and then she would look, and she would tell me my future. And she brought me into that most beautiful energy, that energy of spirit. And she always told me, she said, Kelly, there's so many people around you. You are here in this world to help people. You are here to bring light into this world. You're going to be some kind of teacher. And she said, all the people, she would always say that, and she'd always see the animals, and she said, there's always a man here. He's very exotic. He's from like India or Africa. And I remember saying, is it my husband, Nana? And my Nana said, no, honey, he's your teacher. He's someone who's going to always watch over you. He's your guide, and he's going to be with you all through life. And it was really interesting because I hadn't remembered that. I had remembered being with my grandmother, but I was in Turkey teaching a breathwork workshop about 20 years ago, and I went into a coffee shop, and in the coffee shops, there's coffee at the grounds are in the bottom of the cup, and people did the same thing. They would put it over, and then they would look, and there was a man with us in the group. He was showing us around Turkey, and he said, oh my God, my mother does this. She's psychic, and she embarrasses me every time we go to the coffee shop. And I said, oh no, this is so real. My Nana did this all the time, right? And I said, I will show you. And I said, Spirit, what do we need to know? And I took my coffee cup and went around, and it said joy completely. There wasn't even one little coffee ground out of place. It just said the word J-O-Y, joy. And
wow.
What a message in that. And
I love going to a little bookstore in Canton, Mass. I used to have to go on some of the job sites for the heating and air conditioning company I work for. And one of the job sites, this little bookstore, and I loved going in there. There was a woman from Romania that used to do the coffee grounds, and she would put it over your head and then read the coffee grounds. And I got to tell you something. It's probably I have some great people around me do good readings, but hers were just off the charts. In 5-10 minutes, she could tell you so much,
right? Just
from what she got from the coffee grounds, which amazed me.
When I think back, how powerful just to be having tea with my Nana, and then in the summer times we would sit in lawn chairs with our iced coffees, and we would look at the clouds, and we would see spirit there. So I fell in love with spirituality through my relationship with my grandmother, and that sense of connection and moving out of mind. And I think each one of us are on a journey from to find our true self. To we are born these beautiful beings, and through being in a conditional world, we lose ourselves, defining moments, fears, the trauma of being in this complex, difficult, conditional world. We lose ourselves, and then there comes a point where each one of us receive an awakening call, and through that awakening call, we're called to really awaken to our true self and find what that is. Whether the yogis call it self-realization, or in psychology we call it self-actualization, or living from your higher power, or connecting with your inner child and living from that loving adult, which is living in a connected spirit energy, or just presence and awareness and living that more and more. So it's been my passion, and I was really, really fortunate. One of the oftentimes we go through a series of awakenings in our life.
Oh, yes.
And when I was about 19, the love of my life, him and I broke up, and I was so heartbroken, and it broke my heart open to probably feeling many lives worth of losses and abandonment and pain. And I was so fortunate to meet an amazing holistic therapist, and her name was Helene Triangolo. And I really knew when I left her office for the first time that she had something I really wanted. She had presence. Mm-hmm. She lived in the present moment. Her heart was open, and her attention was lifted to a place of extreme beingness and aliveness. And I said, I want that. I want that. And I remember a little girl from Pawtucket, in college, and I was going to go to be a newscaster. But after that time, I said, no, I am going to be a therapist.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes, I got to tell you, I've had a lot of those defining moments. I've had two that are particularly strong. That if I won the lottery, I'd probably live in the same house and drive a Chevy. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I am very fussy about having my base solid, and they make my base kind of crumble and rock and roll if I go off my path.
Yeah.
They were good about it when I closed it off at 13 mm-hmm. and 18, mm-hmm. but I think by the time I hit my late 20s to 40, they were becoming very impatient, a little impatient with me. Mm-hmm. And even to the point where after I had the rough time, one of the roughest spells in my life, that after I got my feet on the ground, I became very complacent. So they shook me up just slightly, but enough to make me remember how much I didn't want to go there again.
I kind of think of it's like an angel that taps us on our shoulder, say, it's time to wake up, my love. And then it brings us the experiences, the teachers, and you're one of those people. I love coming to your psychic development class. And it's really changing my practice even more. I told you before, we don't grow old, we stop growing and we get old, right? So we have to just keep expanding. We have to just keep opening to our capacity to grow, because it's our life, it's our dharma, it's why we're here, is to awaken and to keep expanding out of fear and negativity and that safety to just keep opening into a higher realm.
I have told everybody, I expect to be taking classes when I'm 80.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I find some of the practitioners that do their work and don't ever continue to grow.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Stagnant.
I think it's kind of that stagnant. And they have people that love them and everything like that. But that would bother me, where I have to constantly like to grow and check out what else is out there and what's through. And in the process, I have watched my readings, my stuff, keep doing that.
Yeah.
And I've watched you grow in a very short time.
Yeah. I think when I went to school at 18 and was taking communications and psychology, it was really so much about analyzing, rationalizing, cognitive behavioral, that left side of the brain, and really me kind of figuring my client out. And it was such a disservice, It's like, no, my job is to guide them in, to develop their intuition in tune, to really begin to really live in tune. And to do that, oftentimes people have to clear out whatever's blocking their energy centers in the body, their chakras, or the repressed emotion that just gets stuck in our bodies and blocks us from really excelling in our awakening process. So even just to think of the simple thing of stop, drop, and roll. We know if we catch on fire physically, we stop, drop, and roll. Well, emotionally, when our feelings come up, to just stop, our first thing is to react and to think and to tell the story about it and to go around and round and ruminate, which is ruinate, and we stop. We just stop and go inward, drop into the feeling, and then let the breath roll. Let the breath roll. Perfect. And breathe into it to integrate it. And because once we're integrating, that's how we really become our authentic self, by clearing out what isn't authentic within us. And I think because of that, I have had the great privilege and blessing to really have my clients all be people that are in an awakening process. It's like there's a divine resource out there.
Well, don't you think you almost like draw the people?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, in terms of my growth, I'll find people that are ready to awaken to the next higher level. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to laugh because I have another woman that she's like a sister to me. She's worked at my shop for 22 years. And we have a group of people that pop between the two of us. And then she has her people, and I have my people. I tend to draw in a lot more of the people getting ready to do the opening.
Yes.
And I think it's because teaching is one of my favorite things.
Yes.
So even if I'm doing a reading for the same price, I'll have them there for longer if I think they need to learn how to quiet their
deeper,
voice
yeah.
or go deeper or chakra clearing or whatever they need. And it's so funny because when 9 out of 10 people that come to me, 9 out of 10 are coming to me because they want to know what their cards say, but they also want to know, is this voice I'm hearing real?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what a
Can
beautiful
I trust
thing.
it?
Yes.
Because then I can really begin to make my life feel purposeful and worthwhile. You know, when I went to school, the traditional, getting my master's and my license in mental health counseling, but then I was always, getting certifications, hypnotherapy and shaman work and breath work and, holotropic and then the transformational breath work, which is very, very powerful. Judith Kravitz from New Hampshire downloaded that from Babaji, and it uses acupuncture, pressure, it uses affirmation, and that circular connected breath that helps people to access the subconscious, to bring it into consciousness, and at the end of every session, people have some kind of superconscious experience, some kind of sense of like an expansion in their heart or a level of peace, or sometimes they see light or they meet their spirit guide, whatever that might be. But when that starts to happen, so many of us, are brokenhearted because we were born in, I remember some of my breath work where I did the rebirthing. And we did that in hot tubs when I studied. So I was studying the traditional to get my license so I can take health insurances. But I was like I was hidden, this person that was like really exploring the other dimensions, right?
Yep.
But now it's like the world is coming up much more, and it's so much more welcome to be that holistic counselor.
I remember 20 years ago being so excited when Salve Regina was adding Reiki to their practices.
Yeah.
And the hospice nurses were adding Reiki and hypnosis to their work.
Yep.
And I got so excited when it's that. But it's come so much farther. The kids, the younger generation of the nurses and stuff like that want a lot of the holistic to add the holistic to it.
Yes.
And I have a person that was a doctor that also wanted to learn the holistic, and it's very exciting.
Again, it's limited if you're not thinking of someone as an emotional, spiritual, just the physical. The great yogi Yogananda said, the ego is the soul attached to the body, and that limited perspective, and yoga has been such a huge part of my exploration process of learning the teachings of the great yogi Paramahansa Yogananda. He wrote the book Autobiography of a Yogi, and he came here in the 1950s, and he brought an experience of Kriya Yoga and the techniques of meditation, and really lived here for 30-something years, lecturing in the 1920s and teaching people. He filled Carnegie Hall with chanting, and everyone had this incredible healing experience. But a huge part of it is to develop intuition, and that's essential. And the more he was able to do that, the more I believe that self-realization is he really started an incredible movement through yoga and self-realization.
Now, do you run yoga classes, or?
Yeah, so I'm part of Ananda, which is a worldwide organization, and in Rhode Island we have a yoga and meditation center called Ananda, and it is based on the teachings of Yogananda and self-realization. and we have a Sunday service where I'm a minister and I lead the service, and the service is oftentimes a combination of the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita. It's really eclectic. It brings everything together. It really is holistic in that way, and yoga means union. It's like, how do we live in reunion with our soul? You know,
Yep.
how do we awaken to our highest potential? And just beautiful teachings. And yes, there's yoga there, and Ananda yoga is very different because it's spiritual yoga. It is using affirmations. It's using the moments in between the poses to really integrate, to really connect inwardly, and to really feel what's happening within. And, you know, the more we are internalize who we are, the more fully present we are in our body, the more we really can impact this world. I mean, I believe that we're here to bring light into this world and to be the pioneers, to just really at the forefront of helping people that are sinking into darkness, is to find that light. And I know you're a beacon of light. I know I try to do that for people because I feel it's my life calling to help people to know who they are and to identify with that light in them by freeing themselves from the darkness that keeps us so stuck and hopeless and despair, and just to rise above it.
Excellent, excellent. Now, you were talking too, have you added acupuncture yet?
Yeah, so yeah, isn't that
I'm
great?
excited
I know.
about that, yes.
Through the Providence Community Acupuncture, the woman, Chris there, she spent many years, 8 I believe, working with the Department of Health to now allow therapists to give acupuncture for mental health. So there's 5 very important points in the ear to stop the parasympathetic, to that fight or flight. There's for addiction, there's one for depression, anxiety, and the liver, the lungs, the kidneys. So it's just a very, for processing, for opening up. And I've had just incredible. So just lately I've been doing sessions, and now Blue Cross will be paying for them. They were before, but now it's legit, you know. But so I had someone just sit next to me, and I put the needles in their ear, and I had on some really powerful healing, sound healing music with the gongs in that. Yep. And then, you know, I just, you know, did a divine will healing prayer through Yogananda's healing, and I sent some energy, and then I just started to listen to my intuition and was able to help that person. I speak to a person that on her father's side that she did not know of at all, and it's just amazing how people know when you connected. Like, I'm like, really? I don't know, you know. And she knew, and when I'm really seeing as I'm opening up to this next layer of using mediumship in my practice, that when I'm connected to someone, like, they know, that person really can feel that connection and that knowing. And
absolutely.
It really, it's such a beautiful connector, and so beautiful to open into that world with those people. So that was like a whole session, and I've done quite a few of them now where I'm calling in their ancestors for help and support.
I had the first time I've had it come through. I mean, I've been doing mediumship since I was 5.
Yeah.
So I've had things come through, but the one that I always remember, I had a nurse that had lung cancer, and she needed to stop smoking. I had a lot of issues with it because she didn't call it smoking, because she only took drags here and there and then put them out, but she was smoking quite a bit, you know? So everything, a nurse who's very left-brained, it's making me feel like I should do clinical. Mm-hmm. But everything in my body was telling me to do something more holistic-y, you know? And the day I saw her, I sat in the chair, and I went the more clinical. And as soon as I went the more clinical, her mother appeared and told me to switch to the other option. And I think we did it at meditation night. I don't know if you were there when we did the healing garden.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that healing garden. I got told to use that healing garden script on this woman, and it was so exciting because I was still like second guessing myself, and it was before I totally, this was back probably when I first entered that particular office. My ego still played a little bit. I retired the ego that year, but
hallelujah.
Hallelujah, yeah. That feels so good when you do. It takes so much pressure off of you. But I literally turned around and I said, she jumped up and she goes, "I'll never smoke again." And I ran into her years after, and she never smoked again. And one of the reasons was...
Addiction's so complex. That's extraordinary.
Yep. But what had happened was, it was so funny. On her way to me, she first saw a license plate that was her mother's birthday. Then she saw one that had a sticker of a rose in the back window, and her mother's first name was Rose. Then when she came to me, the Healing Garden has got a series of places of healing, but the last one, you sit in a chair and your loved ones come around you, and she felt her mother. And as soon as she knew she wasn't doing this alone, and her mother was beside her side, she knew she'd never smoke again. And it was so exciting. And like I said, that ego pot is... Dissolves, yeah.
Through our...
And that was the beginning of it.
Yeah, keep bringing the light, and it doesn't have any place to go.
Yes. And then I found with my Reiki sessions, I tend to connect really good to grandmas because it's my favorite title. So I love the grandmas, so they tend to come in. So the grandmas a lot of times come in, they let me know. I mean, I do the whole routine, but I know to stop at a certain chakra. And a lot of times, if it is the center chakra, the third chakra, they let me know trauma, early lifetime traumas and stuff that they've gone through, and they give me enough detail to help me work it so they can take their personal power back. And I work on that with the Reiki. So the other side is so helpful, even in the areas of your work that aren't normally mediumship. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the difference between going on a cruise by yourself or with all your great friends, right?
Yep.
To just have all your friends from the other side, there's just this support and joy about it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And seeing these loved ones on the other side, I always laugh because I always say I get as much as the client gets, because seeing their loved one coming in there and watching over them and guiding them and guiding me to help guide them is so beautiful that it's...
The channel is blessed by what flows through it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even with readings that I have found too, if I ask in my head, because they talk in my head, you shouldn't tell you that because they'll take you away, but the olden days, you know. But when they talk in my head, and if a person says to me, I can't fit that, that doesn't fit to me, and if they tell it to me again, I just tell them to take it with you.
Yeah.
And the number of calls I get 3 to 6 months after, or texts or emails, are crazy, and it just made me. And I had to go to my W-2 job, and I went to him and I said, it's time for me to retire. And he said, why? I said, my ego doesn't need this before. I was in a very male-dominated place, and the fact that I could run things and fix all the things that
needed to go
they
through
broke.
it, right? We have to, it has to get really intensified a lot of times before we're ready to drop it.
Yep. And then I said to my boss too, and I said, and the other thing is, you don't ever like things to level off. You always have to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And he said, I said, it's like an adrenaline rush to you.
That's the epiphany of an ego, right?
Yeah. So I turned around and I said, I don't need that adrenaline rush anymore.
Yeah.
And he says to me, I don't do that. So he came back the next day and he goes, my wife says you're right. But it was so funny because I just felt that it was time for me to move to the next level.
Right. I think we're all trying to overcome our limited beliefs, and I think I had closed down psychically because I thought, well, my job is not to read people. That's not going to help them. My job is to guide them and to do. I couldn't find a way from my head to put them together, and so it wasn't until I opened my heart and trusted to open up more and more to my mediumship skills that I was able to see the marriage possibility.
Absolutely,
in my practice.
Absolutely. How can people get a hold of you?
Well, my practice is really full. Oh, I know. I do breathwork workshops at White Pine Wellness.
Oh, nice.
And there's a beautiful website, and we do monthly. We do a kirtan, music, sound healing with the singing bowls, and we do transformational breath work.
Now,
very,
can
very powerful.
anybody go to those yoga church services
Yes,
that you have?
and yes, anyone can come to Ananda, and I am the contact person on the website.
Kelly Doyle.
Kelly Doyle.
So even Facebook, if you wanted to message her, or if you needed to get a hold of me,
Yeah.
I can get you connected so that if you're interested.
And the
Because I want to
beautiful
go to
thing
one of
about
them. I'd like to check one of those out too.
Ananda, Rhode Island is it's a nonprofit, and it's very, very affordable. Yoga classes, meditation classes, learn how to meditate classes, Sunday service, and just beautiful community of just being with
Beautiful,
people,
yeah.
having lunch together and spending time together, and just like-minded people, like-minded souls coming together. It's just beautiful.
Well, and I even talk about that. You come to my development circle. The key that circle has is we keep it very protected and that kind of stuff with Archangel Michael. But the biggest thing that brings the power to that is being with like-minded people. Mm-hmm. And that is my favorite group. So that's why I joke, because I've kept it the same price since 2004, because it's my favorite night. It's like my favorite night.
Yeah.
I like meditation night too, but that one has to be the favorite. I have no troubles getting in my car and getting my butt there for that night, because you get to be with like-minded people. So as much as I
Everyone
am
lifts each
hosting
other
the
up.
circle,
Yeah.
I'm getting lifted the same as you are.
Yeah.
So, which is absolutely like wonderful. So it is crazy. I love some of the different means that you're using, and that Sunday does sound like a fabulous thing. So I do have to check that out.
I do have a Tuesday meditation group. I do too.
Do you?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, where do you do that?
In back of my home, I have a studio, which is where I do my practice and teach some meditation classes, and just it's an important part of therapy to help people learn how to go inside and develop that skill.
Absolutely.
Because that's where we meet spirit, right? In the silence and the stillness.
Well, and it's to get them out of the left side of the brain, because that left side of the brain, and when doing accounting work and controller of a company and project manager and all the stuff that I was involved with, it was all left-brained.
Yeah.
And I swear that my side business, that spirit kicked me in the butt until I opened in 2000. I swear that that was, I would leave there and I'd go flying to my shop. And all of a sudden I went from my Apple Watch saying, breathe, 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 to, and let's take a deep breath now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So talk about a different two sides of a life.
You know, if we were interviewing my biller right now, she'd be like, I don't know how she does it, because I always write the wrong names, wrong insurances. My brain just doesn't go there, but she's such a saving grace. I just write people's name down. She does the billing and she checks things out. And, you know, we have to have both in this world, you know?
Yep, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
I have found that now that I've given up the left side of the brain as much as possible, the right, I'm having troubles because I still do a few taxes, family members and loved ones and stuff. And it's absolutely crazy. So in here, so to wrap it up, if they do want to go to some, because you do have a few things that are open, even though your practice itself
definitely
is pretty
come
solid.
to Ananda. It's in North Kingstown.
How do you spell Ananda?
Ananda. It just means bliss.
Bliss.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yep.
I love that. And it was so funny because Kelly came to one of my trance classes, and one of the people that she worked with at Ananda with yoga saw her picture and was so excited. How do you know Kelly? I said, the world gets smaller and smaller, doesn't it? So I do want to thank you so much for being on the show. It's been absolutely fabulous. And like I said, if you want to get a hold of her, you can contact me, as well as Kelly Doyle on Facebook.
I mean, or just Google
Ananda.
me and it'll give my office number.
Yeah, your office number too. I thank you again for coming, and it's been a wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love it because you just put a different twist to some of the stuff that I do.
Yes, but it's beautiful together.
It's a beautiful twist. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.